Hey, that's it, you guys.
What's happening?
My favorite song of the day. So what's going on, Sash? How are you? Robin, Dusty, everybody, thank you for coming on.
Great to be here.
Glad to be here.
So what's going on, Sash? Tell us what's new, man. I mean, you obviously are you're not in your office. What's happening, man?
Yeah, let's keep this very censored. I'm in a closet at the moment. This is my don't ask me how I got here, but apparently the room that was meant to be the podcast room is having some technical difficulties because an Australian and connections and internet, don't ask anybody. But it's a balmy 95 today here in SoCal, so it's nice and hot. One fence at a time, right?
But the show must go on, man, regardless, whether the internet issues, whether we got audio issues, video issues, we got to go find that internet. That's one thing I learned, man. If it's a Starbucks, if it's a coffee shop, if it's your friend's house, you go find that internet somewhere, right?
Yeah. I nearly went to the neighbors and they were like, absolutely not. Are you allowed to use our office? So here I am.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate Dusty, Robin, you guys coming on. And I know we're going to be getting into a little bit about your guys' courses that you'll be doing on the Full Throttle education experience at the Fence Show coming up in October. But for anybody that doesn't know who you are, let's give them a little background. You guys are owners of Blue Ribbon Fence. And you were telling me a little bit earlier how Blue Ribbon Fence started, Robin. Why don't we just tell everybody a little bit about you guys?
So, so we're in East Texas, and neither one of us were working in the fence industry when we started the company. I was working at a CPA firm. Dusty was a police officer for Longview, a detective. And so he had actually done some repair work on my dad's fence. I guess I should say he worked on a ranch during his college years and, during the summer, and built a lot of fence there. But he was just doing some repair work for my dad. And my dad was in the fence business for over 40 years, and told Dusty, you should do this on the side. And, you can make a little extra money. You can set yourself up for retirement when you leave the police department. So we did. We started something on the side, and it continued to grow. And we kind of got to a point about 3 years into it where Dusty had to make a decision. Either he had to leave the PD or he had to shut down the fence company, because we couldn't do both anymore. It was kind of getting to that point where it really required his attention, because we tried a couple of different models, having somebody else come in and run the business. But if it's not their business, they're not bought in like you are as the owner. Yeah. So we made the decision for him to leave the police department and never look back. Here we are.
Well, how long ago was that? How long guys did you decide to go full time?
3 years ago, July of 2023.
Wow. So during a sort of the end of COVID, through a crazy time. So tell me, how's it been? Has it been what they say it is? It's all roses and dandelions, digging holes. How's it been? How's that transition gone? Especially from being a detective to running fence crews, trucks, dealing with clients. Like how's that transition been?
It's been really interesting. The people that I used to put in jail, I'm hiring.
Fair enough. That is so true. I'm sorry, everyone out there.
Not really. That was a joke, but it has been difficult as far as just trying to figure it out, navigate my way. Luckily, I've had a good group of folks. Robin, already knowing how to do the book, set us up for success. Her dad already being in the industry helped us so much, so I definitely we had definitely a kind of a fast track there, but it still had its struggles.
Well,
it's definitely challenging.
Mark says two of his favorite people, and I know he's not talking about Sasha and I, because we're not even our wives' favorite people. So
it's mutual, Mark.
Well, yeah, and I would assume going from the PD over to fencing. I mean, you think about it, you're still in business basically because of criminals, dogs, and children. So I guess it's pretty similar. You're right down to it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I was actually kind of excited to have you guys on. I know Veronica talked to you guys a whole bunch, about some of the education stuff that we had going on there, and getting into the education side of it. I wanted to know, why is continuing education? I mean, obviously, I know this is important to you guys. You do a lot of helping people and stuff. Why is continuing education important in today's fence industry compared to like in the past?
It's just evolving.
I feel like go ahead, Dusty. You can take that.
It's just evolving, and I'm trying to move that needle and trying to make everyone else better, to where we can. I mean, to where everybody can make their money and put out a better product. So if everybody's prices comes up as far as the install, then we're all making more money. Our margins are better. And just doing what we can to really, like I said, move that needle and make the median get better.
Yeah. Do you think it's gotten like, I think there's more education now than there was 5 years ago. It's like, throw a rock and there's a class going on. And it used to be a couple times a year, right? There'd be an event, maybe an education one, 2-3 times, or maybe just solely manufacturer specific to products. It wasn't really, about training small fence companies and, people that, obviously in our association kind of specializes in helping people like yourselves. It was started off doing this maybe on the weekend or part-time. And I love your story about that, because I say it all the time. You're the type of people that, if we're not careful, we run out of the industry, instead of taking a weekend person or someone that does it 3 days a week and turning them into a full-time fencer. We chase you off. So you guys are a success story that I love to hear, because that's exactly what we want to do in the industry, is take people that are in this. If you're crazy enough to go dig holes with us, we want you doing it full-time. So, right.
And I love the fact that the entry barrier for the fence industry is so easy. Like, it's so easy to get started. I mean, you can have a pair of post hole diggers and a shovel and some cement, and you can build a fence almost. So you can get started for relatively cheap if you just want to get into the industry. And I think having all the education, there's a big difference between being good at building a fence and being able to run a business. And so you can be good at the one part, but there's so much education now about running your business and how to run your business and how to be profitable. And I think that's really where the continuing education has helped a lot of fence companies.
Yeah.
And I think too, what I love about your guys' story is that you're living proof that you don't necessarily just have to drop what you're doing and start it. Like, you can get your feet wet. You can do it either way. You can go straight into it, but you can also get your feet wet and start to get more and more comfortable and turn it into a full-time business. I think that's the beautiful thing that we don't discuss a lot about fencing. It's like, why not try? Like, why not even start part-time and just get the feel for it and attend some of these training programs? Especially, I think what has really changed our industry is when we get people like yourselves that actually do the education, because I feel like you can get book smart all you want, and don't get me wrong, you need that as well. But it's through those experiences when we said at the beginning, how was your last 3 years, Dusty, doing this full time? And there were challenges, and I think that's the education that I think is leading now, and that's what's really important, because sometimes it's those experiences, and when you're running these classes and coming from where you guys came from and people that you're talking to, I think it's very affirming. And I think education these days needs to be a little bit more, people from experiences rather than, hey, here's a book, this is the ASTM codes. Yeah, we get that. You need to do that. And then, by the way, you need to do QuickBooks or whatever that's all part of it. But I feel that's what's exciting when we get to get people like yourselves running a class. I think it's more relevant because people can relate now. They go, oh, okay, wow, you did this, then okay, maybe I don't have to be so scared, or maybe I can start at part-time, or if I do, so I think that's where education for me personally has come a long way. And it's about time, because you only have so much educated people trying to educate us, where I think we need that mix now, where we need the experienced people that can actually back us and go, don't worry about it, guys. There'll be days where you're like, I don't know what the heck we're doing. And then there'll be days where you're like, hey, so I love it.
There's days you're like, am I getting paid for this? This is awesome, right? And then there's days you're just going, man, why didn't I get paid for this, right? So,
Yeah. Am I ever going to get paid for this?
This was more work than the stuff I got paid for. Right?
Yeah. And I think it also, the education, when you get involved in the education and you start getting into some of the classes and meeting different people, you start building a network too, like you were talking about, and you have people, resources that you can call on, especially if you're new to the industry. You meet people and you have people that you can call and say, hey, I'm facing this. What would you do in this situation? Or have you ever seen this? And it just helps to have that network of people.
Yeah, creating a community. We're an amazing community, but we're like a tight, small community. Everyone knows everyone. You know, even like, as you can tell from my accent, being straight, but it's like the fencing industry across the world is small. Like, it's just, and it's tight niche. Like, Americans can go over to Australia and work straight, you know, vice versa, because we're all looking for experienced people, because fencing, you sort of think we had that laugh. You don't come out of college and go, oh yeah, I want to get in the fence, right? But when we get education, we get people like yourselves and Brian and the FWA team sort of promoting. It's not, digging holes part of it, but there's also so much other things that makes fencing amazing. And like your dad said, you can retire, you know, and I think that's the cool part. Like, fencing does, it's not prestigious per se, but mate, it makes a good life, you know.
And there's again, Susan's like two great humans, right? Everybody says nothing but good stuff about you and I, Sash. You see this?
No, I can see that.
Right? This is awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you two are here to see this.
Yes. I'm taking it. I'm taking anything I can get.
There's Michaela says hello, you all. But this kind of ties into what I was, we were talking about. Why do contractors sometimes avoid training? And I love that this was in there, because I was one of those. I'm still one of those. I mean, I go to these expos because I like to walk around, and I don't have the attention span to sit in these classrooms and just flip through books for 8 hours. And I think that's what all of our training was for a long time. And I think that's what is changing now, is people like yourselves coming in and saying, hey, we're going to teach you from real experience. What do you think?
So I've been toying with this whole theory for a while. And part of my, because the entry level is so low, somebody doesn't leave school and say, yeah, I'm going to go dig holes for a living, you know? So it's usually not somebody that wanted to spend a whole lot of time in a classroom.
Right.
And it's not just the fence industry, contractors in general across the board. If they could choose something else because they were good at, or school was their thing, they probably wouldn't be doing what they were doing.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the reasons why people don't want to do the training, is because it's just not school's not their jam. And that's okay. And, but I think making it relatable, like what Sasha said, definitely kind of gets them in the door, and then goes, hey, this really wasn't that bad. This is, I did pick up something. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to pick up the entire course in a sitting. You just need one thing that's going to move the needle for you and your business. And that's, we just got to get them in the door.
Yeah. I think I love that. That's one of the things I tell everybody about the industry. I'm like, sometimes we're in a hurry to change things, and we're in a hurry to change things, and we want to be like this or be like that industry or that industry. And they don't realize that once you start putting those barriers up, it takes out the reason a lot of people are in it. And now we're struggling for companies. We're struggling for other people to get in. We're pushing the small guys out that got in for that reason. I think what's great about this is, and again, if you rehabilitated yourself and you went through jail, or you did whatever you're going to do, and you're recovering from something, or even you're just someone that didn't get all the education that you should have got earlier on to do a different career path you wanted or something like that, you have the opportunity to come in here, start your life over if you want, or maybe it's the first thing you ever do. A lot of us are just in it for the, families were in it, we kind of carried it on, but you have the ability to build something. And the same as anybody else, and you could support your family. You can get a house, you can get a boat, you can get a car, you can put your kids through school in the fence industry, and that's where I think that we got to really protect that, because that it has a huge value in our industry. It's huge.
And I think what you guys are all saying is, and what I love is, like, from your dad's perspective, it was, how long did he have his business for?
About 40 years.
40 years, and it took the kid, you know, and then he's ultimately said, "Hey, I retired." I think that's where we've got to bring everything back together, because my fear in the industry is we've got so much talented older generation fans that have secrets and have done things actually through some really, really tough times. Like, it wasn't that their times are always great either. And we need a bit of that with the new school together to come together, because I feel if I could tell everyone, if I could encourage you to check out an industry, check out fencing. Like, it blew my mind. Like, I think we're talking backstage, what to call it. There's only two type of fencing people. You're either in it because you were born in it, or you sort of fell in it. But once you're in it, you're sort of in it. Like, you know, Dusty, you made a huge decision. You know, it was, and I can only imagine me. I came completely out of fencing, and I was working in pretty lucrative, you know, the mining industry. But dude, when I fell into fencing, it just sucked me in, and I don't know what it is. And that's why I said more people talk about it. You know,
Robin's dad told me, he goes, it gets in your blood.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can't. It's sort of when it brings you in and you try to leave for whatever reason, you sort of nope, I'm back. You know, and I think that's why I love these education programs that all you guys are involved in and FWA is putting on. So I think the more real they are, the more we can encourage our industry to, you know, because we need people to go from these and go, you know what, we can do that, and tell other people, you know. So I think the one thing about our community is, you know, Brian, and correct me if I'm wrong, we know everything about everybody, whether it's good, bad, or wrong. Yeah. We tend to, you know, so like, let's start encouraging this growth in an industry that's it's sort of, it's not dying, but we need that new blood, but we need also the old blood with it to help it all sort of to gel, you know.
It's something else. The industry's once you're in it, you're like you were saying, you're in it for life. And yet, you know, every time I tried to get out of it, I don't know, I pretty much ended up sleeping in my car. So I'm stuck in it. It has you now. It's kind of like you saw that. What's that show where the guys went to Vegas and Hangover movie or something, and then they went to the next one. They were in Thailand, and they're like, oh, Thailand has them now. That's it. The fence industry has you now. It's like you're lost. You're gone. You're in it. It's got you. Yeah.
And I tell you, being an outsider from Australia, had I known about fencing, like, you can literally, I tell my kids, like, you can travel the world and have a job. Like, literally, it is the one industry that if someone says, what, you know, fence, I'll hire tomorrow. You could be in Italy, you could be in Thailand, you could be in Australia. It's just one of those things that they're like, what, you know, fence, then, you know, then what's wrong with if you're doing admin or bookkeeping, or, you know, there's just so much in fencing that, yes, we need to dig a hole, but there's just there's management, there's you know, it's amazing. So I feel like that's what is so encouraging about the education programs, you know.
Yeah, we got some weird comments coming in, so I'm not even sharing them all. I don't know what any of these things mean. Just like, look at these weird ones. So I guess some people are watching. I don't know who's watching. I guess you never know, right? But Sasha, I know you wanted to ask this one.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys, what separates companies that grow from companies that are sort of stuck in a rut?
I have my opinion on that, and I'll let Dusty chime in with his here. But I feel like when you're stuck, if you don't change the behavior, you have to make the change. It's not, the industry isn't going to change. You have to make the change within your company if you're stuck and you're trying to grow. And you have to, education, it comes down to educating yourself, finding out, you know, if the next fence company next to you is growing and they're making money, be like them. Find out what they're doing. What are they doing that's moving the needle for them?
Yeah, I didn't know if Dusty, you had anything you want to chime in on that one, but it's a little. You handle a lot more of the sales, and you know, I know when it comes to that side of it, it sounds like she's a little bit more on the admin, and not just admin, but the business operations side of it. What do you think on the sales side of it? What how do companies get stuck? You know, in how they approach their sales and things and with their customers?
I think sometimes we hear a lot of noise. This was for me too, because like I didn't think I was a salesman. And then because I talked to a bunch of people in the industry going, hey, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And essentially, it's just be yourself. Like, don't try to sell it. Just solve the problem and be yourself and be professional, and it'll sell itself.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think everybody has their own, you got to find your groove. And some people's grooves are, and I'm not the type that would go in and overeducate. You try to build a relationship with them and see if you're going to solve a problem for them. And then I like to put in the work and do the drawings and show them that I'm ready to basically start the job. I mean, I don't want them thinking I'm gonna have to come back and do a lot of work. And I remember it's kind of like my first job that I got working at a Vons. I don't know if you have Vons grocery stores out there. Anybody have a Vons or like a Ralph's grocery store, or any kind of grocery store? And I remember they were, I wanted to go get a job as a bag boy, just bagging groceries. Well, I went in there and I did some recon and I seen what the baggers were wearing. And I went in there with the same shirt, the same pants, the same shoes. And I walked in for the interview and I said, not only do I want this job, I'm ready to start now, just hand me an apron. And, I was ready to start working. And I think that that carried over as I got older. So when you go out to the customer's house, I mean, the drawing I do and all that stuff, everything I present, I mean, I'm not going to let some guy selling a $300 cell phone outsell me and put more effort into selling a cell phone or selling me shoe shine at the mall than I'm going to put out selling a $3,000 fence. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not going to write on the back of a business card and tell them this is going to be $3,000. I'm going to do the time to spend it. I'm going to even mark the ground for underground and say, hey, look, even if you don't use me, I'll call in that 811 for you. And of course, I just want my marks on the ground so that the next guy comes out and thinks I already sold it. But, there's obviously stuff like that. But, I go that part. So I think everybody finds their groove. And some people believe that I'm just got to go do as many as I can and be the lowest. And they're just trying to get the lowest and hoping the number sells. So I think that's my approach on it. I think the companies that get stuck are the ones that don't change as well.
Yeah. And evolving with your customer base. I mean, eventually we're kind of getting, every decade, you're getting a different customer who's ready to buy. And so knowing if you're going to be more digital than before. And so it's kind of evolving because we like to send estimates out via email, or I'll walk through it with them on site. But I can't tell you how many times I have somebody, an older customer, go, I don't email.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of knowing who you're in front of too.
Yeah. Yeah. And my goal has always been, I know everybody's got a different approach. Some people want to go back, work it up and email it off. And my approach is if I drove all the way out there, I'm going to ask for the sale. So it's, I'm going to, because I want to see the reaction on their face. I want to hear the tone in their voice when they see the price. And I think that, and even when right after I send an email, if I do go back and do it by email, which is a lot of times you do on commercial and stuff, I go back and right within 30 seconds of sending the email, I go and I actually call them and say, hey, did you get that email I just sent you? And I want to hear them open it up while I'm on the phone so I can get this, if it's a sigh or if that sounds great, things like that. So yeah, it's different. It's a different approach for everybody, isn't it? It's funny when you talk to people. Yeah. This is for both of you guys. Now that you're going to be doing more education and stuff with us, and you guys are going to be doing live education, and some people might be watching this later on YouTube or Facebook clips and things like this. So with your opinion, what do you think the difference is in live education versus, going and watching a YouTube video on something?
You're committed. If you're there, you're committed. And you're there, you're present. If you're just, because I'm guilty of it, when I watch YouTube, sometimes it's just background noise. So being there, being present, absorbing the information, being able to ask that question when it's on the spot. I mean, there's YouTube and Facebook and those things are good, but doing it live, there's no substitute.
Yeah. You can't ask YouTube, what do you mean by that, right?
Right.
Can you dumb that down for me? No.
Yeah.
I have ADD, and so I get distracted if I'm watching a YouTube video, and I do watch a lot of YouTube videos, but as soon as the dryer buzzes, even if I don't get up, my mind immediately just shifted. It's like, what was in the dryer, and do I need to fold it now, or can I let it sit there and I've lost 5 minutes of the YouTube video. So yeah, the distraction for me is really hard.
Yeah, I think it's why I have a hard time working from home. I know a lot of people can. I like to get up at 6 and 6:30, hit the road. Otherwise, I'm distracted, man. I'll start watching the news. I'm making coffee, and I mean it. And all this stuff is preparing even coffee and snacks for work. And it's just, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and I've done nothing but play, watching, doing social media. You know.
Yeah. I got my whole MBA online, and so I had to condition myself to, I would get off because I was working full time too. So I would get off work, I would go home, and to me, in my mind, I was going to college. So I was going to school. So I kind of do the same thing because I do work out of the house, but I close my office doors. I don't leave them open. I'm when I go in there, I'm going to work. I try to get up and get dressed every day, just like I'm leaving the house to go to an office somewhere. Because if I don't, I'd be like you. Pretty soon it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I'm still sitting in my pajamas watching YouTube or something.
Yeah. It's like 1 PM. I'm like, do I need to shower? I mean, this is what happens when I don't go around anybody, I'm like, I need to go to the office just for my own personal hygiene, I think. You don't need me at the house for 3 days.
No, please don't. So where do you guys think live, I say the word live, but where is education at right now for you guys? Like where do we have to go? Is it going in the right direction? Because I think live education I think it's a lot more. I think it's got a lot more advantages. Is YouTube easy? Yes, you can do whatever you want, and etc. So where do you think education is right now, and where's it going? Do you think, or where should it be going, and how do we get it there?
I like the live because, like Dusty said, you can ask the question, and with YouTube, you've kind of got a script. You're going through it. You're gonna cover these points, and that's it. When you're live, somebody can ask a question, and it can take a whole different route. Then it's more interactive, and I feel like that is. I think there's a place for YouTube, and I think there's a place for those types of education, for that type of education. But I really feel like the heart of it you've got to get some live education in there, because you got to have a chance to ask those questions. You got to have a chance to hear other people's questions and see where that takes the class at that time, because you could walk out thinking you're going in to learn one thing and walk out with a whole other little bag of nuggets, to feed off of.
Yeah, because I think good instructors, when they're in there, they actually kind of read the audience, and you kind of learn.
Yes.
I think that's another good point, maybe, to the in-person. You can kind of guide where the class is, or the students or the people attending are, because you may realize that you're talking about a subject they're not ready for, and you got to tone it back and go back to the basics. And if you know something, you could just leapfrog over what the basics, and then they just forget everything else you learned or that you taught them throughout the rest of the 45 minutes. When if you just slowed down and taught them that first 5 minutes they needed, they would have comprehended the rest.
Yeah.
100%. But while we're talking about courses, though, I do want to get into what you guys are going to be doing at the Fence Show this October. So these are some outlines, and we're so fortunate to have Veronica and Susan working on this stuff, because I know they've been working closely with you guys, and Veronica especially on the education side, and helping with kind of making sure these courses fit who's actually doing them. And I know you guys are working with her to get these things right. So Dusty, I think this fits you too. Especially after we've got to know you, reading customer behavior and adapting your approach. Tell us about that. How did this thing come about with you and Veronica?
Yeah. So my background, well, the last 7 years at the police department, I was a violent crimes investigator. So for that, it means something a little bit different for every PD, but that essentially my task was robberies and homicides. So I got to talk to a whole lot of people who didn't want to talk to me. And I'm going to be a little boastful here. I was good at it. I'm really good at it. And I got them to tell me what I needed them to tell me, confess to crimes or whatever. And all of that just was about building trust from the beginning. And so I feel like that really translated once I was able to kind of hone in on just being yourself, doing what you know how to do. And that translated to the sales of like, just read who you're talking to and meet them where they are and get them to trust you. And things started kind of falling into place.
Nice. Yeah, and now you're investigating what happened to all the U-bolts on my track brackets. It's like a whole different A whole different investigation going on, right?
Yes. Yes.
There were not enough hog rings on that chain link fence.
Right.
Yeah.
Why did they send me steel ball caps when I ordered aluminum? I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Robin, get me all the invoices. I'm going to see if it was our mistake or theirs.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So I know that was kind of what inspired it. So what do you think on your end of it, though? What do you think the contractors struggle with communication?
A lot. You kind of mentioned it before. A lot of times we want to educate them. A lot of times it's just shut up and listen to what they want or what they think they want, and then help guide them to where you think the best product is. One of the old detectives that I worked with, he told me one of his favorite things to do in an interview room would go in there and just be completely silent. Don't say a word. And then he would start writing on his notepad. And he goes, I might be making my grocery list for later. And they want to know why you're writing on your notepad and not saying anything. And then next thing you know, they're spilling their guts to you because they can't stand the silence. Yeah. So a lot of times, if you'll just be quiet, they'll tell you and lead that conversation without them knowing it. And then you can help guide them along the way. Yeah. And so a lot of times we want to over-educate. I was doing it at one point too, like, hey, this is so much better than this. And then I finally just like, be quiet and let them tell you what it is. And then again, it kind of sells itself.
Yeah, I think
but your perspective of that too, that's, you know, having someone like yourself that's gone through your life journey and especially in the workforce, what you've done, to be able to say that. You had to said that to me years, like I had to experience all that. You can tell I talk a lot. It's a race between me and Brian who have words, right? Right. Often you're just complicating everything because you're not just shut up. Like, yes, you want to sell it, but you know, that perspective and just listening to that is like, you know what, you got a point. That's, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's something that I can't wait to see this course, because the experience that you have and what it's taught you now in fencing, you know, it's cool. I think it's going to help a lot, you know, because often we just look at the question before, what happens when you're stuck? And you do, you know, you guys know better than anyone. You get into business, you're super excited, you put all the effort in, you get to here, and then it's like, it just flatlines for a moment. For whatever reason, whether you're over talking or underselling, you know, all those things. That's why I feel.
The other part, if Brian kind of hit on something as we were talking too, that sometimes you need to go back to the basics as far as what is communication, and it's a message, a sender, and a receiver. If any of those three pieces are broke, the communication struggles. And I mean, we were kind of dealing with it with our guys at one point. And so, because one of the guys is like, our communication is horrible. And I'm kind of sitting there going, well, what's broken? Is it my message? Is it me, or is it you? And so sometimes we need to just get back to the basics of some of that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think I remember talking to one of my sales guys that was, every time he would be, I mean, the customer wouldn't even bring up Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the box stores, and he would just go into this rant about how much better our materials are than Home Depot's. I'm like, they didn't ask you that, you know. I mean, and and you got to be careful. You're not, now you want to be bashing on a guy, whether it's a box store or whether it's competition. I said, especially if you didn't. It's not like somebody presented you a quote and said, I'm trying to get a comparable quote and your price was so much higher, and you can look at it and say, well, it's because they were using inferior products. Sometimes we end up out there trying to, outsell ourselves for no reason. So I'm excited I'll probably jump in on some of your class too. I'm excited to hear your approach on it. There's no doubt. And the silence thing would drive me nuts. So I'd lose my mind. You sat me in a room and started writing on a notepad, like, what do you want? What am I here for?
I love it.
Yeah, I've got some good stuff that I've been thinking about already, so I'm excited to get into it.
I think you should just walk in with a tablet, sit down, and just like get some lights like facing them, on and you just sit there in a chair and you spend the first 5 minutes just writing stuff down while you look at them, just to see who cracks first. That should be like it. That should be like the first 5 minutes of the course.
Be like, yeah.
Well, I can tell you when I married Dusty, I felt like I married a mute because he didn't talk. Like in the first few years of our marriage, like I'd have to check him for a pulse. I'm like, are you here? Are you? Now I know why.
I said that before. It's because we're guys. We know if we talk long enough, we're going to screw it up.
Yeah.
So silence is golden for us men. And I know, Sasha, you were going to ask Robin a little bit about some of her courseware that's got going on.
So, Robin, this has come up at a perfect time. Last week's podcast, me and Brian were sweating bullets, because I think this is a great one. Mistakes accounting for fence businesses, taxes, profit, financial mistakes. I think sometimes we get really scared. We don't necessarily do everything 100% right. I did not say that openly. Make sure you raise that up. And that's a small business. You're selling, right? The key is to get the bids out, get the guys working, and sometimes you don't necessarily, and I don't think you do it intentionally. And maybe you don't know. So tell us a little bit about your course and sort of what your background is and what you'll be teaching.
So my background is accounting and financial operations. And I've been doing it for a long time. I'm not going to tell you how many years because then I'll tell you how old I am. But it's been I kind of shifted over to the fence industry when Dusty started the fence company and started kind of keying into the fence industry. And it's the same, it's kind of what I said earlier, like the entry barrier is really easy. And so a lot of times you can, you've got someone who's good at building things and they can build the fence and they catch on to that part really fast. It's very different from running the business. And so, and what you don't know when it comes to the business and government compliance and your state compliance and all those things. And even how to structure your business, that matters. It matters if you're an LLC or a partnership or an S Corp or a C Corp. All those things matter about how you pay yourself, how you structure your payroll, because, an LLC is very different from an S Corp, and the IRS is very picky about those things. And so having you need to have a good accounting foundation and have a partner in that area somewhere, whether it's a bookkeeper, and a CPA. Everybody says, well, I need a good CPA. Not necessarily when you're starting, because a good CPA is generally going to be somebody who does your taxes and they do audits and things like that. What you need is a really good bookkeeper who knows compliance and who knows your state regulations and things like that. So I think when you first start out, like you said, you're trying to build a fence. You're not worried about where the money, how you're accounting for the money and those types of things. And it does start, the more successful you become, the more important that becomes, because that can get you in one of those situations where you're stuck and you're not moving forward and you're not growing because you don't know what your numbers are. A lot of people confuse. They look at their income statement and they think, oh, wow, well, I made, $40,000, but I don't have $40,000 in the bank. Why not? And that's because your P&L is not your cash flow statement. It's totally different. You can have, if you're buying machinery and you're buying assets to build your business, they're not hitting that P&L. They're hitting your balance sheet. So understanding all the financial reports and where your money is located on those financial reports, so that you can, know how much cash do I have to start this next year with, and what was my profit really, knowing, all those types of things. And most people don't know it. And so finding a good partner that can help you understand those things and talk you through it. And maybe you're good enough that they can, they start out and they kind of explain a few things to you, and then you're off and running. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to bother. That does not interest me. I want you to do it for me. And that's okay to have somebody do that, but just understanding how important that is, because you can be the best fence builder in the world, but if you don't file your sales tax reports, they're going to come shut you down. So, you've got to know all those types of things and be educated on those types of things.
When you're talking to people that are starting in fencing, and even it doesn't matter what business, at some point in your business, you have to know your business. At some point, whether it's through a professional CPA or through education courses, where you have to know your profit and loss. You have to know. There just comes a point where You can't do the ostrich syndrome, or in Australia we call it the emu syndrome. And I think that's what scared me in the businesses that I've had and run. You just go, you put your head down and just run at 100 mile, sell. Yeah, we'll corner that. We'll get to that later. We're not going to go to jail for that right at this. And then all of a sudden you panic because you're like, oh, what's just happened? And I don't know. You wake up one day and you go, yeah, I'm not really sure where the money is, right? So I think that's amazing. I think the more that we get that information, and you have to know, whether you're knowing it right now or you're knowing snippets of it, hopefully, you got to start at some point.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is, setting up an LLC is one of the easiest ways to start your business. You can go on the state website and you can sign, you can do it yourself. You can run through all the paperwork and establish your LLC. But then they pay themselves incorrectly. If they started they're gonna try to pay themselves as a W-2 employee, and you can't if you're just an LLC. And the other thing is they'll commingle their money. Well, the whole purpose of having an LLC is to provide protection, so that if something goes wrong with your business, they can't come after you personally. And so, but if you commingle your money, now you've kind of pierced that veil of protection. So knowing that, if you have an LLC, make sure all your money is going in and out through your LLC, and just those types of things. They're little things, and they're not that hard once you know them, because I see a lot of times people, the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, well, that's not that hard, but I wasn't doing that, but I can do it now. So.
Yeah. So I like that you said that earlier about obviously the use tax and things like this. And I think, and then now I do want to get into what you think the most common mistakes are. Like, I'm curious what we all think they are, because it's a little bit different for everybody. And typically what we think are the most common mistakes are some that we made. That's why we say that. But right? And that's why it's just in the top of our head. But I agree with what you were saying about how important it is, because we get these great companies that start up, and these people start off gung-ho and they grow from 1 truck to 3-4 trucks in a year. And then all of a sudden they weren't doing their books right. They weren't doing all that correctly. And then next thing you know, they're in hiding. And they're not because they did bad work, not because they couldn't find the work, not because they couldn't hire trucks or hire installers and things like that. It's because they got behind on something that came and bit them in the end. Because now it's not just that money you owe penalties, you owe interest,
yes.
And it becomes this bigger burden than you can handle. Now you're using the money you need to pay your suppliers to pay off the state, because they don't mess around. They're now going to put some sort of lien on you personally, and or empty your bank accounts anyway, right? Or they might have just taken your money out of your bank.
Yeah, and they'll freeze your accounts. They'll freeze it. You can't even get to your money. Yeah.
And then next thing you know is you owe your suppliers money. So you start avoiding spend a year or two building a relationship with a supplier that you now are in hiding from, and you got to go somewhere else, and you're avoiding that. I mean, it just turns into this wheel of you going into hiding. And I think that advice from people like yourselves, on the business side, you especially, is invaluable for these small contractors when they start. And I wish I 20, 30 years ago would have had the advice that I give out today.
Well, and just even building on what you were just saying, if you're now you can't pay your vendors, you're paying the state, and so you think, well, I'll go to the bank and I'll get a loan so I can get through this, or I get a line of credit. But if you don't have financial statements, you can't go to the bank and get a loan. So it all it can all snowball really quick if you're not set up correctly. So I think just not understanding, the domino effect of everything is huge.
Yeah.
And I think that having that basic, it's not that hard, right? You can pay someone, and hey, by the way, guys, like what you've said it earlier, both you two, which is really cool. Fencing is one of those businesses that doesn't take a lot of outlay to get going. And that's why I love this industry, because you can have a go at it. Yeah, but there's certain things don't, and like an LLC take, and in California, the most rip-off state on the planet. Can I say that out loud? I can hear helicopters coming. It's only a couple $100. So I can only imagine, and we did it online. So having you guys being able to take that breath moment, you don't have to do so. You can do it right at the beginning, and it's not that, and you'll grow and it'll get more and more. You'll fix it all, but that's exciting. That's why I feel like these 2 courses, I'm so excited about, as I feel like there's a lot to learn,
And going back to what you said, one thing I can tell you for sure, I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care who you are, if you think you're going to take a loan out to take care of some debt or something you have issues with, you're mistaken. Because one thing that banks don't do is loan you money when you need it. So
Right, exactly.
that is a guarantee. If you think you're going to walk into the bank and tell them you need the money and they're going to loan it to you, you're mistaken. They only loan it to you when you don't and when things are going good. So
and there's a lot of traps out there too. Like there's a lot of companies that will start calling you up saying, "Hey, we'll loan you money based on your receivables, and you pay it back weekly." But their interest rates are so high, and you can get into a really bad situation really quick with those types of companies. So just hoping that you never get to that point where you feel so desperate that you need to go that route. And we started our company with very little money. Because like I said, it was something we were starting on the side. I was still working full time. Dusty was still working full time, and we were kind of doing this on the side. And then I left my job right after COVID and started my own business. And then shortly after that, Dusty left his job. So we were like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're just taking a big leap of faith here to see if this is going to work. But I mean, if you just kind of start out slow, you don't have to start out with all the best equipment. You don't have to start out with the best of everything. Start out in a way that works for you. What works best for you, and then understand what kind of structure that is, whether it's an S corp, an LLC, or what a sole proprietor, whatever your situation is different for everybody. And then they're figuring out, when is it time to move from an LLC to an S corp, and when does that make sense for you? So I think there's a lot of things, if you just kind of take a breath and take it slow and really think it through, and have a little bit of education and a partner. I always encourage people to get a good partner on the financial side, whether it's a really good accountant or a if you have a CPA, they can be a little bit more costly. You might not want to start out with that route and just have them do your tax return. But a CPA is going to do your tax return. That you're going to sign an engagement letter that says all the information that I just handed you is true to the best of my knowledge, and they're going to take that information and they're going to put it back on the tax return. But they're not checking your books.
Napkin. And he was just like, "No, Sash, that's not good enough. Get out of here."
No.
But I think, Robin, I think what's amazing about education is you can start here, but you don't have to start there. And I think that's daunting. Like back in my day, it was like LLCs. Oh, you got to start sole proprietor, and then like it's not that daunting. And it's, even if me and Brian were talking about this last week, doesn't matter the state that your business is in. If you've let it go, fix it. I get it. It's daunting. I get it. There's a scare, but the health of your business, you need to know it. At some point, you can't deny it. And I think that's what's amazing about you guys and FWA and all these education programs, because back in the day, it was always, oh, you can't do an LLC. You don't even have a business. I'm like, well, why not? You just pay the money. You know what I mean? And I think that's where and here's the benefits of why you do this. And co-mingling. Oh my goodness. My first bit, my account, co-mingling. It's like a private credit card to pay a company credit card. It's like, what are you doing? But it's all these hard lessons that, that's why these programs are for. Like, that's why, people like yourselves, come to these education programs, people. It'll change your life. It really will.
Well, I know, Sash, you have one more question for Robin before we get into the rapid fire questions, by the way, that Susan sent me for Dusty and you. So this will be interesting.
So this is a good question. I like this one. What numbers should every contractor know weekly? Like what? I know you got to wrap it up, but what do you think?
Cash flow. You've got to know what your cash flow is. That cash is king. I mean, you have to know what you have, what you anticipate is going to be coming in the door, what you anticipate is going to be going out the door, what your payroll average is. You got to know where you stand from a cash flow standpoint, because that can cripple you like really fast. I think you have to know I think every company is different, and they each has some, some specific KPIs as far as like, what goes on as far as the operation of the business. But I think from a financial standpoint, you need to know what your cash flow is. And I think you really need to understand your balance sheet and P&L, because there are numbers on those reports that you can look at anytime throughout the month and get some good information about your company. Doing your bank reconciliations and all those things, you can look and say, okay, where's my cash at today? does that make sense with what my cash flow projection is telling me? And go out as far as you need to. The company I work for as a fractional CFO right now, I do their cash flow report for 12 months. For Blue Ribbon Fence, we're lucky if we can get 12 weeks, you know. So it's all relative. Yeah, it's all relative. But I think knowing that cash flow, and it can even be on a daily basis. It doesn't even have, you don't even have to make it a weekly, but you could even do that on a daily basis. But I say if you don't know anything else about your company, know what your cash flow projection is.
That means, Dusty, you mean trouble. I'm a sales guy, and I'm like, yeah, I just spend money. Yeah, we'll do that deal. Yeah, that's fine. That works. And then Brett comes in, he goes, what the heck's this? There's no money, dude. So, no, but Rob, that is, to be honest, even being in business as long as I have, you just simplified it for me, because if someone was to ask me that question, I think I would have ranted on, like, sales first, then you put, you know what I mean? But it's really that. Take it all away. It's really, not that it's simple, but it's really that specific. Cash flow, that's the only way you're going to stay in business. I love it. And I think that's really, you know, that's why these education and you guys and what you're doing is so important, because we get lost. You know, we get lost. Hey, we go sales, and then what happens if the guy doesn't sell it right? And Dusty, you said something that resonates with me a lot, and is why are we selling the jobs for so cheap? Like, what is wrong with us in this industry? We are damaging our own industry by going in and saying, hey, I'm going to be Joe Blowfence, so I got to be here. It's like, come on, guys, we've got to keep. And not that we're ripping anyone off, we're fair, but we've got to, dude, our labor costs, our transport costs, our everything. That, like, why? And that is so important for your cash flow, Robin, right? Like, because if you're selling jobs and something goes wrong along the way, then, you know, that's why, I love it.
And goal, and you need to know what your budget is. You need to know your goal. What's your goal for this week? What do I need to make this week so that I can meet my cash flow needs?
Yeah.
So, you know, having your budget, you know, I think having a good, healthy budget, a realistic budget, but a stretch budget, you know, push yourself a little bit, but having that information readily available, and how are you performing the budget? You know, you can look weekly and say, okay, here's what we said we needed. Here's where we were. Did we do better or worse? If we did worse, why? If we did better, why? Because we want to repeat that. So, yeah.
Well, way to go, Robin. Way to go and take a subject that Sasha and I would have went into a rabbit hole on.
Oh, yeah, for an hour. An hour.
And then on the way home, we'd be talking about it in the car, and we just, I'm not done. I have one more thing, one more report we need, Sash. We need this one as well. So, rapid fire round, you guys. So I'm going to be taking this one over here. We've got, this one's going to be for you, Dusty, right in the beginning. Biggest sales mistake?
Not listening to the customer.
Not listening to the customer. Most underrated people skill?
I'm going to go with listening again.
Really? Listening is a big one, huh? Okay. Best way to build trust fast?
Validation.
Okay. That one.
Validation through...
well, I don't want to give all my secrets away right now. Okay. We got to save a little bit for the class.
Yeah. There you go. Come to the class. Get your full throttle passes. FenceShow.com, everybody.
Come on, boy.
What's the one thing, Dusty, one thing that you think contractors should stop saying to customers? That's a tough one.
I'm drawing a blank on that one.
No, you could pass on that one. These were, we didn't prep you guys on these ones. I know that's not fair. It's not fair sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pass on that one.
Anybody want to take it?
Well, so I will say for my area, I've been told to quit the small talk, but for my area, they like small. That's where we kind of help build that trust. Yeah. And so, again, find your groove.
Yeah, I agree. It's different for everybody. And you guys do a lot of wood and chain link, right? So it's not as much even into the other synthetic products or even vinyl and things like that. It's a lot of wood and chain link around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. So it's different everywhere, right? Different customers. Robin, you hit that. What is that button again? Let me see. So it's official. Ready? Rapid fire round.
Okay.
It's a machine gun.
No, we're gonna have to come up with that, right? So, biggest accounting mistake.
LLC companies paying themselves as W-2 employees, the owners of an LLC paying themselves as W-2 employees.
Okay. This will be curious because all of us, run companies and stuff. What's the most important financial report?
Cash flow projection and
Cash flow.
balance sheet. Cash flow projection and balance sheet. Those are your two most important ones.
Okay. One number contractors ignore too often.
I think a lot of times they will ignore there's so many. I'm trying to narrow it down to one. Really and truly, I think the one number that they ignore the most is probably what's happening on your balance sheet, on your capital expenditures, because that doesn't translate over to the P&L. And so that's we kind of touched on that earlier. They look at their P&L and think that's what should be in their balance sheet, just what should be in their bank account, and it's not, because they might have had some CapEx that they spent a lot of money on that never showed up on that. So I think they don't pay enough attention to that sometimes, what's on the balance sheet.
Look at her with her fancy CapEx terms and
sorry. The big argument my husband and I had about that one time.
Right? We already know you're smarter than us, okay? You don't have to prove it. You've already validated that. You validated that.
Hey, Robin has just shot down everything we're doing in our business.
That's it, man.
So funny story. Dusty comes into my office one day, and I even forget what the word was, but he said he was trying to look at incurred expense. He was looking at something for it was a commercial job, and it was how we were supposed to get our pay applications done or whatever. And he goes, "What does this mean?" And so I explained to him like the best way I knew how to say like what it meant, and I even used it in a sentence for him. I even used it in a context.
Rayon drawings.
He's still just looking at me like a deer in the headlights, and I'm like, I don't know how else to say it to you. And he just looked at me. He goes, "English."
Yeah. I love it.
What's your incurred expense? I don't know, 5 gallons. I mean, what? I mean,
so if you Google the definition of incurred, it literally says a term only used in accounting.
Yeah, it's like a Latin word or something that only 6 people used in college, right?
8,000-year-old word that fencing people have no idea about. Yeah.
Okay, so one last one, Robin. One last one. Biggest tax time surprise you see?
Biggest tax time surprise?
Tax time surprise you see?
I think probably people just not having their books ready for tax. Like they don't know that their book. They don't know what they don't know. So they'll take their books to the tax preparer, and they're not ready. They're not reconciled. Maybe their retained earnings doesn't tie over to the balance sheet, and there's a lot of those things that matter. But I think just not having a good clean set of books to take to the tax preparer, and then they're shocked because they don't understand why they got charged, for 14 hours for them to prepare a tax return for a company that might have had a net profit of $52,000. So that can be a big shock sometimes.
Yeah, that can add up quick if you don't have it together. Which I mean, I know my bill is always just
don't take your receipts in a shoebox.
Yep.
Oh, what? Robin, I'm in so much trouble now. Seriously.
I call.
Jump off the balcony right now. Yeah.
The Dropbox folder I share with my CPA, it's called Shoebox. Yeah, right?
Yeah. You just drop everything in there. Yep.
Right. So I want to close out with thanking you guys for coming. I got one final thing because I know it's getting late for everybody. You guys are a couple hours ahead of us. I think it sounds like we're over on the West Coast, so you're in Texas and around. So what's the one thing contractors can do immediately to improve their business this week? I have an answer to this too, so I'm curious if you guys have one.
I got it. So learn one thing this week and implement the one thing. Don't try to eat the whole elephant at one time.
Yeah. I think you should go to fenceshow.com and get your full throttle pass.
There you go.
Start watching these weekly podcasts leading up to the show, because we're going to have different instructors on every single week, and you're
Make
going to
sure
get
you
little. You're going to get chunks.
Catch with Dusty and Robin.
Yep, and then get your best. Yeah, reach out to Dusty or Robin. Drop your information. They want to help people too, so reach out to them. Drop your information in the comments here. We'll try to relay it over. Let them know you're coming to the class and where you're at in your business, and I'm sure they can help prepare some stuff and be ready for you guys when you come to the class and stuff.
Absolutely.
As well, or maybe even answer some questions,
Sure.
early.
I'm going to be in the front row of both your classes, just so you know, because I'm sweating a lot at the moment.
I'm nervous about everything they said. I don't know about you, Sasha.
I'm nervous about Dusty being silent. I'm literally going to be going, what's he thinking? What's going on?
I don't even know. Can you imagine, Sasha, you and I in the front of the classroom with him just sitting there writing stuff down? We freak out.
Yep.
Freak out.
I'll be like, sir, Dusty, come on, what's going on? Yeah.
I'd be like, you can't handle the truth.
No, I can't. Yeah.
And then he just gets up and starts yelling at us.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? Don't look at me. What are you? Look at me when I'm talking to you. Don't look at me. Just starts rambling that stuff to us. We just go, what? Right? Okay. So again, thank you guys. Everybody that's watching. Hopefully you guys got to learn a little bit more about Dusty and Robin. And if you want to learn more, go to the Finch Show coming up in October 5th to the 9th. Classes going on Monday, Tuesday that week. And then we've got the expo and classes going on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Rooms, I believe, are starting as low as $85 a night. Double occupancy. I mean, that's pretty cheap to bring a team with you as well. So, and I don't know about you, but I've never been able to find a cheap flight into Las Vegas. So, get your stuff booked, get your rooms reserved. Thank you, Dusty, Robin. You guys are awesome. We look forward to seeing you guys coming up in October.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye.